In the dim recesses of ancient texts, long before the floodwaters rose to cleanse the earth of its wickedness, there existed a time of unparalleled wonder and terror, a time when giants walked among men. These were not mere figments of imagination or the stuff of old wives' tales. They were the Nephilim, the towering offspring of fallen angels and mortal women. Their very existence was an affront to the natural order, a union that defied divine law and brought chaos to creation. These giants were not just colossal in size, but monumental in their capacity for destruction and moral corruption. Under the tutelage of their rebellious angelic fathers, the Watchers, they wielded their immense strength and knowledge to wreak havoc upon the earth. Their deeds plunged humanity into a descent of darkness, their actions staining the very fabric of existence. Yet, their might and violence were not their most egregious sins. The greatest betrayal lay in the forbidden knowledge they unleashed upon the world. The Watchers, in their defiance of heaven, revealed secrets never meant for human understanding. They taught their wives and children the sacred mysteries of the cosmos: sorcery, weapon-making, astrology, and other hidden arts that would lead humanity to ruin. This forbidden wisdom corrupted all who embraced it, sowing seeds of greed, ambition, and chaos that would reverberate through the ages. As the Nephilim roamed the earth, their presence left a legacy of devastation. Their influence seeped into the hearts of men, tainting humanity with the sins of pride, lust, and unrestrained power. The world was plunged into a state of moral decay so profound that it called for divine intervention. This is the story of the Nephilim, giants whose lust for power and forbidden knowledge brought the world to the brink of destruction. But the tale of these giants begins with a time of innocence. In the early days, the Nephilim were not the fearsome harbingers of chaos they would later become. Under the vast expanse of starlit skies, they hunted, laughed, and shared stories. Their community thrived in harmony, a peaceful haven in a world not yet consumed by strife. Among them were leaders and visionaries: Ohia, a figure of strength and wisdom; Haya, whose benevolence inspired all; Hobabesh, known for his cunning; Gilgamesh, celebrated for his bravery; and Maui, revered for his knowledge. Among the Nephilim was a nameless giant, renowned for his kindness and faithfulness. His character set him apart as a pillar of unity in their close-knit community. Together, these giants formed bonds that transcended mere friendship, embodying a unity of purpose and spirit. Each of the giants had a wife, and in those days, the women were treated with reverence and honor. They were the nurturers of life, the keepers of wisdom, and the voices of reason in the quiet moments of reflection. Ohia's wife, Lilura, matched her husband in strength of spirit. Haya's wife, Mishale, mirrored his kindness. Hobabesh's wife, Dara, possessed sharp wit and wisdom, guiding her husband in matters of subtlety. Asta, the fierce and brave wife of Gilgamesh, shared in her husband's valor. Maui's wife, Seraphine, was as knowledgeable as her husband, her mind a wellspring of ancient lore. Then there was the nameless giant's wife. Though her name is lost to history, her presence was unforgettable, a woman of grace and unwavering faithfulness. She and her husband shared a love so profound it became a beacon of hope, a reminder of the harmony that once existed. But as time wore on, a shadow crept into their lives. It began subtly, an unease that whispered in the stillness of the night. The Nephilim, once united in purpose, began to fracture. Greed, envy, and ambition seeped into their hearts. Hobabesh, in particular, succumbed to darker desires. His cunning nature, once a source of pride, became a tool for betrayal. In a moment of reckless folly, he took another giant's wife as his own. This act of treachery shattered the fragile peace among the Nephilim. Their community, once a sanctuary of camaraderie, was now engulfed in discord. Ohia, as their leader, was the first to confront Hobabesh. "Hobabesh, what have you done?" Ohia's voice thundered, his towering presence casting a shadow over the defiant giant. You have betrayed our trust, desecrated our bond, and brought shame upon us all. Hobabesh, ever sly, retorted with a smirk, I took what I desired, Ohia. Is it not in our nature to claim what we want, to take what we need? Ohia's fury was unyielding. This is not strength, Hobabesh, but cowardice and deceit. Your actions have brought war upon us all. Thus, the seeds of conflict were sown. The Nephilim, once allies, now found themselves divided by loyalties and grievances. Their land, once filled with the sounds of laughter and song, was now a battlefield echoing with cries of rage. In this chaos, the wives of the Nephilim bore the greatest burden. Once revered and respected, they became collateral damage in their husband's war. Lilura, who had once stood as Ohia's equal, was silenced by the violence surrounding her. Mishael's kindness turned to despair as she watched her husband consumed by the fury of battle. Dara's wisdom was twisted to serve Hobabesh's dark ambitions. Asta, the brave, fought alongside Gilgamesh, but could not escape the cruelty of the battlefield. Even Seraphine, with all her knowledge, could not shield herself from Mawe's descent into madness. The nameless giant's wife suffered most of all. Her husband, torn between love and loyalty, tried in vain to shield her from the horrors around them. Their once unbreakable bond became a source of anguish as the nameless giant was forced to make impossible choices, sacrificing his values for the sake of survival. The war among the Nephilim escalated, and with it, their treatment of their wives grew ever more brutal. These women, once the heart of their homes, became symbols of the conflict that had consumed their world. Neglected, beaten, and in some cases, killed, they became victims of the chaos their husbands had unleashed. The Nephilim, blinded by rage and ambition, forgot the love and warmth that had once defined their relationships. The once vibrant land, rich with life and abundance, began to wither under the weight of the giant's transgressions. The skies, once radiant and filled with warm starlight, turned gray and foreboding. Rivers that had nourished their crops ran dry, and the forests emptied as animals vanished, driven away by the suffocating pall of despair. It was as though nature itself recoiled from the atrocities the giants had committed, unwilling to endure their cruelty any longer. Amid this desolation, the nameless giant's wife turned to prayer. She knelt, not for herself, but for her husband, for the other wives, and for the land they once cherished. She begged for deliverance, longing for a day when the giants would remember their former selves, when they would cast aside their weapons and embrace the peaceful lives they had abandoned. Her prayers did not go unanswered. One fateful night, as the conflict between the giants reached its most violent crescendo, a tempest arose. Winds shrieked like anguished souls, and torrential rain fell, cleansing the blood-soaked earth. The ferocity of the storm forced the giants to halt their battle and seek shelter. Huddled together, their towering forms dwarfed by the immense power of the storm, they found themselves enveloped in an unfamiliar stillness. For the first time in ages, the world was silent. In that rare moment of calm, the nameless giant turned to his wife. He saw the depth of her pain reflected in her eyes, the physical scars that marred her once radiant face, and the sorrow that weighed upon her soul. In that instant, the enormity of their actions struck him like a thunderclap. They had not protected what they held dear. They had destroyed it. Their lives, their love, their home, everything had been consumed by their anger and pride. Overcome with remorse, the nameless giant rose to his feet, his voice cutting through the roar of the storm. "Brothers," he called, his tone resolute, "we have lost ourselves. We let our fury and arrogance drive us, and in doing so, we destroyed all that we treasured. It is not too late to change. We can still make amends for what we have done." His words echoed through the gathering, reaching the hearts of his fellow giants. They, too, turned to their wives and saw the anguish they had inflicted. Guilt weighed heavily on them as they realized the truth of his words. One by one, the giants cast aside their weapons, They knelt before their wives, seeking forgiveness and pledging to never again let hatred govern their actions. As they made their vows, the storm began to subside. The winds grew calm, and the rain ceased. The land, battered and scarred by war, seemed to take its first tentative steps toward healing. Yet, while the storm had ended, the damage remained. The giants, once mighty and proud, were now a fractured and broken people. Though their wives forgave them, the scars of their suffering could never be erased. Trust, once the bedrock of their bonds, had been irrevocably weakened. Their home, once a sanctuary of harmony and abundance, bore the wounds of their folly. The giants understood that their time was drawing to a close. The ruin they had wrought left no room for redemption in this world. They knew the great flood was coming, a divine reckoning that would cleanse the earth of their sins, but also sweep away their lives. As the waters began to rise, the giants and their wives gathered for a final moment of unity. They held each other close, exchanging whispers of love and sorrow as they prepared to meet their fate. The nameless giant and his wife stood apart, their hands clasped tightly as they faced the encroaching tide together. "I am sorry," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "I am sorry for all of it." His wife gave him a sad, weary smile. "It was not your fault alone, my love," she said softly. "We all share the blame. But know this: I have loved you from the moment we met, and I will love you until the end of time." As the floodwaters surged around them, their lives, their love, and their legacy were carried away by the torrent. I appreciate your viewing.